We can see now.
So today we'll be discussing how we can enforce microservice architecture with NArchTest. So NetArchTest. So we are going to use NetArchTest. It's a architecture validation tool. Uh, ensures best practices and prevents violations. Uh, it- why we should use to make sure we don't have bad dependencies, naming convention. So when I go to a project, if people are not following a naming convention, I less lose respect. Dependency injection is used properly. Uh, Dependency injection make sure you are using layered architecture, testability is high, and so that dependency injections is a very popular interview question nowadays, and most of applications are using it. So, and like generally, if you're not using dependency injection, your layered architecture can become corrupted. It may not be testable. That's what we have to make sure dependency injection is being used. Hands-on implementation. So let me show you the project I have already created. So in this solution, I have two projects, main projects. What you call is APIs, .NET API, two .NET API projects. So in order microservices, they are calling the uh, operations, which is business layer. So they call this order operation. So basically, this is our business layer, and which is calling data access layer. And we are using, we can see we are using in the interfaces dependency injection here. And data, this is the data access layer for microservices, where all the databases related information, we are using entity framework where all the things are happening to save the data in the database, read it from there. So here I wrote some architectural unit test. We will write from the workflow. This is workflow. Let let me delete this class and packages. Let me remove this package so I can show you guys. So here order microservices. Let me show you the test already I've written for the controller. So this is how we use NetArchTest. So here I'm making sure all clauses in controller should end with the controller. So here is saying in types in assembly, uh, types in assembly, so load this assembly, e-commerce order microservices, and all the types that are residing in this namespace should end with controller. So let me go to this unit test. Yeah. So all the classes should end with container controller. Let me run that test. So that test passed because everything under controller namespace has everything is ending with controller. So let me show you, let fail the test. Let me add a controller empty, and instead of say demo. So I have a added demo under the namespace controllers, and let's run it. Now it should fail because it's not ending with the controller, demo controller. Yes, it failed.
It is failed.
So one thing quickly to debug is like when things go or wrong, you learn it more. If you see this kind of thing, how to analyze, just put a debug, put a breakpoint here, and go to the debug. And when you highlight this result, here you can see what are the types which are failing. And here it shows me which is the type is failing is demo. So this is very good for debugging, like, okay, you know which are the classes which are not following this naming convention. And namespace is very good way of ordering the classes because you some of the classes may have different naming like program.cs. So namespace is a good way to enforce the naming convention. So let me rename as demo controller. No, uh, yeah, let's run the test now. So now it passed. So one very good thing is like I lose respect if I think if you go a project and people are not following naming convention, uh, you lose respect, right? Is that correct, Aditya, Sanjeev? If there's no coding standards,
Yes.
everybody is naming on his way. So this is a very cool thing, like to make sure that people are following naming convention for the classes, for the methods. This one is like here you can ensure that all the methods in controller should be public. I will not go much into that. So this is very important that controller should not call the database directly. Let me go to the PowerPoint. Enforce layered architecture. So that's what enforce layered architecture is. User interface should not call the data layer here. So how we enforce that? So all our controllers, they should not have a dependency on data access layer. So right now it should pass because I am not using the data access layer. So let's fail it now. Let demo and use data access. So I am using data access namespace. Let's see it fails or not. Hmm, it passed. Maybe I'm let me use some variable from that private commerce or MS data contest. Okay, let's see it compiles now.
It's order context giving error.
And there's nothing called order data access. Okay, not a great naming. Let's see now it fails or not. Yes, it failed because as we can see, I'm using data access object. So here it's telling demo controller is the culprit, is using data access objects. So it seems unless I namespace is okay, and unless I'm not using anything, it will not complain. Let me make sure. Let's recompile once more.
It should work. It should not fail.
Let's see. I think unless it seems it's okay, namespace is okay, unless I don't use any object from
Yeah,
that class.
it is
Let's see.
interesting.
So it that was means which makes sense. I'm not using any
Yes,
object from here.
exactly.
So a lot of time, like all the controllers, they should inherit from controller class kind of thing. So sometimes you have some implemented some framework, like you would like every developer to implement. You may have some special logging interfaces or abstract classes where you have implemented some code, and you would like people to use those inherit from those framework abstract or real classes so that they get additional functionality. So this is comes handy, like here we are saying uh, all the types that reside in the namespace should inherit controller base class. So let's take out the demo controller. It's not inheriting. It should fail now. Is it compiling? The because it's done null. Let's see, it compiles. Okay, it's compiling. Let's now it should fail. Yes. Again, uh, yes. So demo controller is a class which is not inheriting from the controller. So let me inherit from the controller. Now it should pass. So we saw as a architect, you how you can enforce the name, you how you can make sure layered architecture is enforced, And also, if you have some framework related classes which you want other people to use it by inheriting, so this is a rule, architecture rule you can use. Another thing is that you want to make sure that people are logging. Something goes wrong, some error happens, people log. So when, let's see, in the data access, so I am using log iLogger, and that comes from Microsoft and extension start logging. And that's what we want to make sure that developer is using logger to enforce that logger statement. He's logging the errors. He's doing proper proper error logging. So here, this is a test we can write. So they should have all the classes that are data access should have a dependency on Microsoft extension logging. So let's run it. Yeah. So test passed. How we can do dependency injection? Last time I showed hard way. There's an easy way also. Uh, so for all my business layer, I am making sure that I call here is the one that for business layer, I should not be calling the real classes, real concrete classes. So let me, my operation is my business layer. Let me say what I'm showing you. So I'm saying this business layer or operation layer, it should not call the data access layer. It should call the interface layer, interfaces. So here are the tests that all the types they are there should not have a dependency on data access, and they should have a dependency on iData access. So let me run these tests. Right now it's gonna pass. They pass. So this way we are making sure that we are following the dependency injection. Let's fail it. Operation. So let's say instead of I operation, if we were calling the data access directly, data access. So now in my operations, I am calling my data access layer directly without using interfaces. I'm avoiding dependency injection. I have this operation is tightly integrated to data access object. Now our those tests should fail. Let's run it. Mhm, mhm. That's interesting. Let me rebuild. Um, hmm, it should have failed. It should not have order operations, should not have a dependency. Let me remove this and dependencies. Remove this project. compile it. Hmm. How is it? Let's put a debug point. Did it come? That is interesting. How I am, how is that possible? Am I using the right project? Operations, right? Let me close the project and reopen.
Yes.
I'll
Sometimes we
close
get
the
confused.
Docker also. So let me start the Docker again. And Visual Studio. This is the wrong project. E-commerce solution. So let me clean the solution. Uh, Repair the solution. Debug these tests so that I know it's hitting it. Hmm, that is interesting. Order issuance. Is there namespace problem? or could be typo. It could be typo also. Let me type this on. Okay, last chance. I out of ideas after this.
Yes, we'll see.
Okay, one.
It is
Wow.
passed.
Let for a change, let me make it private. This method as private. Public and private. Let's rebuild. Something is wrong, right?
Yes,
With what are we doing? Something is wrong. It's not recognizing this one at all. Right. Is there some? I think must be. Let's give this namespace here. Assembly load. Okay. I think would be assembly. We are not loading the right assembly. Let's run a test. All three should fail. Okay, at least those two failed. No, though they failed. Uh, public one didn't fail. Uh, that type that result should be public. Oh, the interface is public, which makes sense why passed. The class
okay.
is public, and so it now good. Let's, which makes sense. Now let's change. Now both of them failed. Let's change it to interface. I order I order dependency reject reference to data access. Okay. Use the data access. So now I'm using the interface. Now all three should pass. So
It is
it
all
all three
past.
passed. Apparently, it's good. We debug the problems. So sometimes problems are good. You know how to debug them, right? You know how to debug the issues. So I was going to do some more, write some unit tests. I think we covered all the scenarios. You must have got the idea how to enforce the architecture. Same way workflow, we can enforce that they are not calling any data access layer. There should not be any data access layer or data, anything to the data related. They should be calling microservices only. So this way we saw how we can enforce layered architecture, make sure they are using dependency injections, and also they are using logging. If you have some classes that need to be inherited, you can enforce that. And the I like there are two frameworks. NetArchTest, I like it's very simple. You just load and you got all the types and gives you very simple interface, and you can do lot of you can run in for loop, do lot more checking. So any question, Aditya, so far?
No, sir, it is great. Can we put this code to Git, sir, so that
Sure.
viewer can test it?
I'll
Because
put NuGet and
it is hard to create such this solution and to test.
make sure by signature. So if in
Yes,
future, sometime in people ask me in the interviews, and that way, that way I can use it.
yes, sir.